What is going on, Pats Nation? It's your boy Colby, also known as Patriots Global, here with my boy Rob from House Call Man. Rob, this is our first off-season show officially, man, and I am so excited. Forever, honestly, yeah, because you guys know me and Rob. You know me and Rob have now over the last two seasons now, me and you have done post-game recaps for the 2023 and 2024 season. You guys have given this show a lot of love. Behind the scenes, you guys hit me up telling me how much you love this show. And so me and Rob talked, and we're like, you know what? We're done just doing this in the regular season. Let's start bringing this into the offseason where it gets fun. When we're talking about the coaching staff, when we're talking about free agency, the draft, all this good stuff. So this is a show that you can expect once a week now through the offseason also. Rob, how we doing?
I'm feeling freaking great, and it's because it's the needle's going this way, right? Wait. Let me this way.
There you go.
You gotta projecting out. But I will propose this. I know this is kind of impromptu. Guys, we want to make this a show name. We want to give some type of like what this is going to be called from now on. If y'all can come up with some kind of name in the description, just let us know, because that way we going forward, we have something we can trademark, maybe make something of it going forward.
Yeah, exactly. You know, me and Rob, we want to have this show be something that's a little bit different than Patriots Global. Yes, it's on the Patriots Global main hub, but we want an actual show name for the show that me and Rob do here on Patriots Global. So if you guys have any good names, let us know in the comment section below as we try to come up with something. But today's video brought to you by BetUS. We'll talk to you a little bit later how you can get an exclusive deal from them now that the postseason is here. Playoffs, I mean, the Chargers got absolutely stomped by the Houston Texans today, and then we got the Super Bowl right around the bend. So how you guys can have a little bit of extra fun this football season, we'll talk to you a little bit later on. But Rob, we are going to today be talking about our end of season awards for the Patriots. Who is the MVP for the Patriots for 2024? Who is the biggest breakout player, the biggest upset? These are all awards that me and Rob are going to get to. We're going to share both of our lists. But first, before we do that, want to get into kind of a coaching staff update. You know, Rob, we didn't get your thoughts yet on the guys that the Patriots interviewed. Where ultimately do you think they go? We got some new reports that came out today. Yesterday, we heard a report from Diana Ruzzini that Ben Johnson's interview with the Patriots went, and I quote, great. Then we had a report that came out today saying that the New England Patriots and Mike Vrabel are closing in on a deal that would make Mike Vrabel the 16th head coach of the New England Patriots. This is expected to wrap up very soon as the two sides are in the closing stages. Now, yesterday, before this report even came out, I don't know how true this is, but it was from a Boston radio sports host I saw on Twitter. He made a video and he came out and he said that basically Robert Kraft offered him one deal for 4 years. I think it was like $10 million for 4 years. But Mike Vrabel wanted $15 million for 4 years. So it sounds like we already know there's mutual interest between the two. But right now it's trying to kind of finalize what that deal is going to be for both sides, both for the Patriots and Mike Vrabel. Before we start breaking down each of these candidates, your thoughts. What are your thoughts on the whole Mike Vrabel situation?
So, first of all, another report came out earlier. I don't know how much of it is a report as more of an update by Jordan Schultz, who is very much respected in the atmosphere of football. He said, barring anything unforeseen, I'm paraphrasing, obviously, that he's going to be the next head coach. But as far as this goes, I mean, he's a winner. Now, to what is he a Super Bowl winner in terms of being the head coach? No, but there's a little bit more clarity in him being a head coach versus Ben Johnson. Now, I will say though, Ben Johnson is something I was starting to come around to. So I wouldn't have been fine with either one. My biggest issue is that you might get a present day Josh McDaniels out of Ben Johnson, because we know what Mike Vrabel will do in that locker room. We know that they're not going to be players that are going to be talking like how they did during the Gerard Mayo tenure. What we don't know with Ben Johnson is whether he can be a leader of men. And that might be something that he may be he may be an offensive mastermind. He definitely is. Based off what I've seen with the Lions, he definitely is. But will he be able to lead a team? That's the tricky part. I don't know about that. But as far as Mike Vrabel goes, 2021 NFL Coach of the Year, he's made the AFC Championship. He made the playoffs 3 years in a row. Out of his 3 times in 6 years, 3 years in a row, but he never really had a quarterback to the Drake May level. My only concern with Mike Vrabel is who is he gonna have as his offensive coordinator? We all been hearing the Josh McDaniels rumblings about him being the possible suitor that goes along with Mike Vrabel. I'm really not. I think his system, it may have worked in 2008. It's not going to work in this present day. And I like people to bring up the Mac Jones situation. I'm not going to go on a rant about that, but go look at that rookie season. You could have basically had any backup quarterback play for the Patriots that year, and we would have made the playoffs. So with Josh McDaniels, I don't like it. So hopefully, if Mike Vrabel does become the next head coach, they go in a different direction for the offensive coordinator role.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the Mike Vrabel side of things, for me, we've always heard those rumors that no matter where he goes, there's a good chance he brings Josh McDaniels with him. We heard these rumors before the Patriots interviewed him. We heard these rumors before the Patriots even fired Gerard Mayo. So there's really no surprise there. But of course, nothing is solidified because let's say that Mike Vrabel goes in, he sits down with Robert Kraft, he pitches himself, and this is what I would do if I became the head coach of the organization. And Robert Kraft says, I like everything, but Josh McDaniels cannot be your offensive coordinator. Then things obviously change up a little bit. Like, I think that Mike Vrabel will actually go out and he'll have a search. He has a lot of connections to where I think it's not 100% going to be Josh McDaniels, but I definitely think that that is a good potential chance that it could happen. Obviously, Vrabel, obviously McDaniels, very familiar with each other. Not just that, but we know that Robert Kraft really likes guys that he is familiar with. It just feels like Robert Kraft doesn't like going into a pool of guys that he doesn't necessarily know. And seeing what's happened over the last few years at head coach, at offensive coordinator, I think he's going to want a guy that he knows and a guy that he trusts. And that's why it wouldn't surprise me if Josh McDaniels did come back. Now, I think there are better candidates than Josh McDaniels. I do want the Patriots to actually go out and do a search for offensive coordinator, not just give a guy the job randomly. But I do think that there are guys that could come in and do a much, much worse job than Josh McDaniels. Like, to me, will Josh McDaniels come in and make the Patriots like a top 5 offense? I don't know about that. But can Josh McDaniels be better than Alex Van Pelt? Yeah. Can Josh McDaniels be better than Bill O'Brien? Yeah. Can Josh McDaniels be better than Matt Patricia? Yeah. So I still think that he can come in and give us
the bar is kind of low right now.
The bar's low. I'm not saying the bar's high.
It's
but
not
it
really.
Still should be better than what we've seen in recent years. And at least the good thing with Josh McDaniels is that he's been here before. He knows the expectations. He's been a failed head coach multiple times, but when he's been an offensive coordinator, he has been very good. And I know a lot of people are going to say, but Tom Brady. And you know what? Yes, Tom Brady was a big part in his success. But in 2021, he made Mac Jones look good. 2021 was the last year. 2021 was the last year that we actually saw a good rushing attack by the Patriots offense. And the thing with Josh McDaniels is that he has a big repertoire. He knows how to develop quarterbacks and work with young quarterbacks. So you don't have to worry about the development of Drake May if you get rid of Alex Van Pelt. He knows how to be a pass game coordinator. He knows how to work on the rushing attack. There's so many different avenues from an offensive standpoint that he can come in and make better, not to mention the fact that, again, he's been with multiple organizations. He has a lot of experience. So a lot of people had issues with Alex Van Pelt because of that lack of experience, right? He was somebody that had experience coming up with offensive play calling, but he wasn't somebody that had experience actually calling plays on a regular basis. With Josh McDaniels, he's at least somebody that doesn't fit that mold. He's somebody that you know and can rely on the fact that he knows what he's doing and can do things by himself. Because if Mike Vrabel does come in to be a part of the New England Patriots and be their next head coach, he's going to do the same things that Gerard Mayo wanted to do, except he knows how to actually do it. Mike Vrabel is going to be a CEO style of head coach, again, like we knew Gerard Mayo wanted to be. So with that being said, he is going to need coordinators that can be the head coach, essentially, to their respective sides of the football. Josh McDaniels can be the head coach of the offense, and that's somebody that I feel confident in his ability to do so. So when it comes to the Josh McDaniels side of things, yes, I think the Patriots can go a route and still get better and get a little bit more youthful at offensive coordinator. But I also think that there's a lot worse you can do than Josh McDaniels. And if you're worried about experience, that's not something you have to worry about with McDaniels.
My biggest concern is kind of how they did with the whole head coaching search. And it wasn't so much, we knew who the top 2 candidates were. They were Ben Johnson and Mike Vrabel. But the point of going and spreading your net is to get knowledge, to get little details that you could use to improve whatever you got going on over here. And they didn't do that. And I'm hoping that what they do with this whole offensive coordinator search, because it's a foregone conclusion that Mike Vrabel is the head coach. So who's going to be his coordinator? If it's Josh McDaniels, so be it. Let it be Josh McDaniels. But broaden your scope and try to see what other coordinators may have out there and actually hear instead of just going with the status quo or what may seem the per usual because they've been here before. That's my biggest gripe with that is that we didn't broaden our scope with the whole head coaching search, even though we know that those two guys were the top two candidates. I liked it regardless, but I in terms of like those two guys being the top two candidates that we target, it's just how they went about it. How we're kind of perceived as a joke because Pep Hamilton hadn't coached in 3 years and Byron Leftwich either. So they basically kind of undergone the whole Rooney Rule thing to try to they speed run the head coaching search, and I didn't like it because it kind of made us look stupid when Aaron Glenn basically turned down the job.
When it comes to offensive coordinator, and let's just say that Mike Vrabel ultimately is that guy. Now, we are going to still touch on Ben Johnson. We're still going to touch on the other guys they interviewed because the way that I see it, nothing is official until you sign on the dotted line. We thought Josh McDaniels was going to be the head coach of the Colts, and then he backs out. So anything can happen. We want to touch on these guys, our thoughts on these guys until something is essentially official. But let's say that Mike Vrabel is the guy, which is obviously where it is being pointed towards. When Gerard Mayo was fired, we heard a report that Alex Van Pelt was also fired. We heard about a day later that maybe that was a little bit of a premature report and that none of these guys are essentially fired yet, but that they could be fired. We know that DeMarcus Covington, Patriots first-year defensive coordinator, he just had an interview to be the defensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals. So it feels like he's pretty much all but gone. But when it comes to the Alex Van Pelt side of things, he was the one coach out of Mayo, Covington, and AVP. AVP was the one that we said if he came back, we could see why. Like, he deserved to have a chance at coming back and proving himself in 2025. Now, the Patriots could get better than Alex Van Pelt, but if they brought him back, nobody would be punching the air saying, why is this guy being brought back? Not to mention the fact that now that Vrabel has worked with the Cleveland Browns this past season, there is now that connection between Vrabel, the Cleveland Browns, and now Alex Van Pelt. The other biggest concern is Drake May, the development of your offense, which is why there's another real reason to bring back somebody like Alex Van Pelt. So what do you think now hearing that Van Pelt isn't officially fired? He's still technically with the Patriots. Is he somebody that you would like to see around, or is he somebody that you would say, I'll give you an interview to see what you can do, but I'm probably going to look elsewhere?
Honestly, only for continuity purposes, maybe we can keep him in a lesser role if he's willing to take that, because nobody's going to be banging down the door for AVP. But I honestly, I liked what he did. We cannot understate what he was able to accomplish in the development of Drake May. But I don't know if, especially if you can get something else out there that's better. I mean, you got to go and do it. Like I think, yeah, Josh McDaniels, as much as I harp on him, is a better offensive coordinator. With AVP is still this big what if, this looming black cloud above our heads. That's like, okay, say you give him the right talent. Was it really a talent thing? Because we saw, I mean, was it his name? Legendary quarterback for the Rams. Who was he? I'm spacing out for a second. Legendary quarterback for the Rams during the 2000s Super Bowl runs.
I think Kurt Warner.
Kurt Warner was being very critical of the spacing of the Patriots wide receivers. And now, is that the receivers or is that AVP's ability to scheme up plays? That's where I'm concerned. So, yeah, I'd probably go elsewhere, but keep AVP in your back pocket because nobody's banging his door down to get him another job elsewhere anyways.
Yeah, the way that I see Mike Vrabel is that he is very much the opposite of what you're getting with Ben Johnson, right? Those two are wildly different. So it just depends on what Robert Kraft's viewpoint is. If he wants a guy that he's familiar with, you're familiar with Vrabel. You're not familiar with Ben Johnson. You want a guy that immediately comes in, he's proven to a level, you kind of know what you're getting, then okay, that guy's going to be Mike Vrabel. Do you want to go ahead and get the guy who you're taking more of a bet on, but has more potential? Well, then that guy's Ben Johnson, because Ben Johnson could come in and be a top 3 head coach in the NFL, one of the craziest offensive minds, or he could bust out. He could be another Gerard Mayo who only lasts a year. He could be a Josh McDaniels who is absolutely stellar and is a wizard on the offensive side of the football, but has no idea how to lead an actual football team from a head coach standpoint, which is something that I think we saw with Gerard Mayo. Maybe this is a hot take. I don't think it should be, but I think that Gerard Mayo was still a very, very good coach. I think that if he had a little bit more time to develop, maybe he would have been a better head coach. But I don't think that he is a good head coach, at least not right now. He's not a good head coach right now. But I think he stepped into a situation that he wasn't ready for. And that's kind of the situation that I see with Ben Johnson. So, with MIke Vrabel, he's a guy that started 104 games, very, very experienced. He went to the AFC Championship game. He had Ryan Tannehill as quarterback. What else? He's going to give the Patriots an identity immediately, something that they didn't have under Gerard Mayo. But then you have some of the questions with MIke Vrabel. I mean, he was 6-18 in his final 24 games with the Titans. He went on a 7-game losing streak to end the 2022 season and missed the playoffs. Do you want to pair Drake May with the defensive-minded coach? That's something else you have to see. But also, they had some bad drafts. They had some bad drafts too. You have to keep that in mind. Now, was that the GM for the Titans? Or was that because of player development? A same issue we have here in New England.
And I'm going to compound off that whole defensive thing real quick, because before I forget, being that he's a defensive head coach, you would think that the DVOA would be great, right? No, it's terrible. Actually, I did my research before I came on. 2018, 17th, 2019, 17th, 2020, 28th. The only year that's top 10, 2021, 10th. 2022, 19th, 2023, 18th. That's concerning. But I'll let you go on.
It's hard for me. That's the thing. It's hard for me to sit back and say, well, you know what? Why wasn't the defense better under you when you're a defensive-minded coach? And that's because, again, I think it's the same thing with Gerard Mayo, right? Like Gerard Mayo was a defensive-minded coach. He was very good at helping come up with the defensive plan over the last couple of years under Belichick. He never called plays, but he helped come up with the defensive scheme every given week and then help implement it. Again, just never called the plays defensively. I believe it was Steve Belichick. But everybody gave crap to Gerard Mayo this past year for allowing the defense to take a step back. But again, you have to understand that Gerard Mayo was a CEO-styled coach. He took a step back. He oversaw the football team. He made decisions for the roster, helped make decisions for the roster, and then, called plays or called situational plays and just, again, oversaw the football team, fundamental situations and just overall situational football. What he did was he trusted his OC to be the head coach of the offense and his DC to be the head coach of the defense. And I think that's exactly what MIke Vrabel is doing, to where, yes, MIke Vrabel should have his hands on the defense, especially if it's getting out of whack. But because of the style of head coach he is, I think he trusts his offensive coordinator and trusts his defensive coordinator. If that is something that gives you PTSD, then MIke Vrabel probably isn't your guy. Now, to say that isn't to say he's going to end up the same way that Gerard Mayo did, because MIke Vrabel was a head coach in the league for several years for a reason. He's the hottest coach in the head coaching pool this offseason for a reason. Not just that, but I've been a big believer that a big reason that MIke Vrabel didn't coach this past year wasn't because he didn't have opportunities, but I believe it's because he wanted to put more experience under his belt. He saw that things didn't go well at the end of his tenure with the Titans. Time was only going to help him. And what could he do with that time to make him a better overall candidate? He goes out and he becomes, what exactly was his status there with the Cleveland Browns this past season? It was a consultant. He was a consultant, but he mainly worked on offense. And if you look at the entire coaching career of MIke Vrabel, it's been on the defensive side of the football. It's been a linebackers coach. It's been a defensive lines coach. It's been a defensive coordinator. So when he went with the Cleveland Browns, that gave him an opportunity to learn a little bit more about how to be a head coach, but not just that, learn a little bit more about the offensive side of the football, so that whenever he goes to the Patriots or wherever his next team ultimately ends up being, he is familiar with both ends of the team. So I think that this is an opportunity to see a better version of Mike Vrabel. Are we going to get that? I don't know. Time is only going to tell. But in that year off, but it's important, Robert. Mike Vrabel didn't just sit back on this year off. Mike Vrabel took this time to, one, build his connections, but two, understand the other side of the football.
And they said from the Browns organization, there's been nothing but they have given nothing but glowing reviews. He's learning offenses from Kevin Stefanski. I mean, this guy is great at his job. Like, he just doesn't have the quarterback. But with Mike Vrabel, he's never really had a good quarterback to begin with. He had Marcus Mariota and Ryan Tannehill. With all due respect to those two quarterbacks, because I've said it and I said it last stream, it's an accomplishment to even get into the NFL. But neither one of them even have the floor that Drake May has. The floor. What Drake May can accomplish like I said last stream, what Mike Vrabel had on his staff, Arthur Smith, Matt LaFleur. Maybe Arthur Smith will be available. Isn't he a wide receivers coach for the Steelers? Hey, might be unity.
I thought he was the OC for the Steelers.
Well, I'd have to go check it out. 1 second.
I think he's the OC for the Steelers. But Rob, another name that's been, and I'm not trying to, sidetrack us, but real quick, someone who Patriots fans have been throwing out there as a wide receivers coach, but we said he's not going to come here. That's a lateral move, is Wes Welker. Wes Welker, just a couple of days ago, was fired as the wide receivers coach for the Miami Dolphins. We know that Mike Vrabel, Wes Welker, they have a connection. And everybody says that Wes Welker hates the New England Patriots. I don't think he hates the Patriots. I think he hated Bill Belichick. Now that Bill Belichick's not here, maybe the Patriots get Wes Welker as the wide receivers coach if Mike Vrabel really does come here. So that's another potential pro.
So, yeah, I stand corrected. He is the OC for the Steelers. But I don't know. With Wes Welker, he has learned under McDaniels. So McDaniel or Mike McDaniel. So that we'll see, because Mike McDaniel's system, in the way, my only concern is just being able to scheme up plays that can beat certain coverages, because Mike McDaniel seemingly puts his foot in his mouth routinely. So I hopefully he didn't learn that from him. As long as he learned something. While he also with the 49ers at some point, Wes Welker? He was
with a lot of teams as a wide receiver coach.
He's learned from Kyle Shanahan too. So, I mean, I wouldn't be against it. It's very risky. That this is gonna be risky no matter what we do. But I do trust what as far as Vrabel's his ability to see what would be a good coordinator. That's because with Drake May, his mobility, and what else can open up on this offense, it's almost limitless if you just get the talent around him.
Exactly. And that's another thing, too, that Vrabel is going to have that Ben Johnson isn't going to have. And I'm not trying to crap on Ben Johnson the slightest. We'll talk about him here in a minute. But what Ben Johnson is not going to have is the connections that Mike Vrabel is going to have, a former player in the league, a veteran in the league. I mean, he's coached at the collegiate level. He's coached at the NFL level with multiple different organizations at this point.
It's not even just that. You got the 6th overall pick versus the 4th overall pick. You got a situation where you don't even have a quarterback versus the Patriots have a quarterback. They have a quarterback. He's going to be good. I mean, what was the consensus around the league that coaches are saying about Drake May? They think he's going to be a top 5 quarterback. That is literally what's been talked about. That's been told to, I believe it was Phil Perry. Don't quote me on that, but basically he was told that that it's perceived that Drake May is going to be a top 5 quarterback. You don't have that with the Raiders. Yes, you got Tom Brady. Tom Brady can help, but how much can Tom Brady really be involved as far as the X's and O's in developing a quarterback? They're just going to put all their eggs in a basket and hope they get Shedeur Sanders.
Well, Rob, let's also keep in mind something too, and that's the fact that I think everybody is kind of concerned that with Mike Vrabel, that you're going to have this offense that isn't going to succeed in today's NFL. And I don't think that Mike Vrabel deserves that hate. He doesn't deserve that criticism. That more so deserves to be on the offensive coordinator, because that's the guy that's running the offense. For me, when it comes to Mike Vrabel and he decides who is going to be the next offensive coordinator for this team, I hope, and I really, really hope, that it is somebody that he views as someone who can take this passing offense to the next level. Because what we saw with the Tennessee Titans was a team that primarily ran the ball with Derrick Henry. Why? Because that was essentially the quarterback to the Tennessee Titans offense. But in today's generation of the NFL, yes, you need to be able to run the ball effectively and efficiently, but you need to be able to pass the ball first. This is a pass-first league. If you can't consistently pass the ball through the air, you're just not going to win enough games. You're not going to be a real threat. You're never going to win a Super Bowl. Now, like you said, something Mike Vrabel is going to have now that he didn't have in Tennessee would be Drake May. And Ryan Tannehill, he was never a good quarterback, but he played a lot better with the Tennessee Titans than he did when he was with the Miami Dolphins. So that makes me wonder, what can Mike Vrabel's team look like when he has a quarterback that has the actual talent? Because I think they put Ryan Tannehill in a position to succeed past his limitations. So what can they do when they have a quarterback that has all of that talent to succeed and be one of the best in the NFL? But as long as they don't go back to being a Derrick Henry, led type offense where you're asking Ramondre Stevenson and company to carry the workload, then okay, I'm fine with that. My biggest gripe offensively is just make sure you use Drake May, whether it's Ben Johnson, whether it's Mike Vrabel, make sure that you use Drake May the correct way. Because if you do not make this a pass-first offense and bring out the most in this passing game, then you're never realistically going to go to a Super Bowl nor win a Super Bowl.
It's not even just that. Drake May really needs to learn to avoid contact. It's getting a little bit concerning with how I love the tenacity. I like the grit, but we also don't want to lose our franchise quarterback because you get bumps and bruises that put you out for a couple weeks. So we got to get someone in his head that's telling him, hey, listen, slide in this situation, run out of bounds like this. He needs to pull a Russell Wilson approach. I don't know if you remember Russell Wilson early in his career. The guy just didn't really get hit. He would always go out of bounds before he would do anything. I would rather him slide after running 12 yards and run 40 yards down the field and get popped. I'm sorry. I would rather I'll play the long game. I want this guy to stick around for as long as possible while getting injured.
Yeah, look, all in all, I think we've touched on Mike Vrabel a lot, especially over the last week or so. I mean, our last two streams, now this stream, all happening in about 6 days of a span. So we touched on Mike Vrabel a lot on this channel ever since Gerard Mayo was fired. So make sure you guys go ahead and check out our last two live streams if you want to hear more about our thoughts on Vrabel. But, all in all, I think he's going to be the same style of coach that Gerard Mayo was, but he's going to do it the way that we all thought Gerard Mayo was actually going to do it. He has the connections. He has the experience. He's a veteran. He's going to come in and he's going to immediately build a culture. You're going to know your identity immediately. And I think that's what this team needs. I think the Patriots are so young. And Rob, you'll know over the last few weeks in our post-game streams, that's probably been my biggest gripe with the team is that, we were so old for so many years that everybody wanted to get younger. And we got younger and maybe it bit us in the butt. Because we got so young that nobody could lead this team, could lead these young players. We didn't have an identity. We didn't have a direction. And that's the other thing with hiring somebody like Ben Johnson is, could he come in and immediately build a culture? For sure. I'm not saying he can't, but that's a big question mark. Can he? Maybe. Will he? Maybe. We ultimately don't know. But what you know about Mike Vrabel is that he will come in and he'll immediately set that identity and the direction for your team. And because of how young and youthful this roster is, having young players that have that identity kind of latch onto, I think is very, very important for player development. But I do want to get into kind of this next coaching candidate because I've been saying this the whole process. I think it's between two. Mike Vrabel, who I think is pretty much the guaranteed option, but the other one being Ben Johnson. And Ben Johnson has been the hottest name in the coaching pool over the last 2 or 3 years now. And apparently, again, according to Diana Rosini, when the Patriots met with him virtually, it went, and I quote, great. So while things are leaning towards Mike Vrabel, again, we've learned that because of somebody like Josh McDaniels, you never actually know, and you never know what way the team could potentially pivot to. So I do still want to hit on Ben Johnson in case something goes another way and he ends up signing with the New England Patriots. What are your thoughts on him? What are your pros? What are your cons? Before you get into that, though, we did get a super chat, first one of today's stream, from my boy Patriots 92. Let's go, baby. You guys know that supporting the channel supports us massively. And of course, when you guys do donate, you get your question, your comment, your concern thrown up on the screen for everybody to see, and we have to read it, good or bad. He says, Vrabel is a mid-defensive head coach at best. Out of his 6 seasons, he only had a top defense 1 year. The rest of his years were middling defenses. And again, I get it, because when you're a head coach, everything ultimately will be put back on you. If your defensive coordinator sucks, your offensive coordinator sucks, you put all your faith into them, like, yes, it's on them, but it's also on you because you're the one that hired them. You're overseeing the entire football team, so you're still going to get some of that hate. But again, for me, it just comes back to, I think the defensive coordinator is the reason that they didn't have a top defense, not Mike Vrabel. And I really hope that Mike Vrabel will learn from his past mistakes if he comes here and says, if I hire a defensive coordinator and he's not working out, that I'm going to step in and I'm going to have a level of say, because you can respect your coordinators, but if they aren't doing their job, that is a direct impact and look on your image. So if it's not looking good, step in and do something about it to make your team successful and to make sure that you have a future as a head coach in this league.
And I don't know, man. I'm going to be honest with you. Maybe that front office and Vrabel and just how the coaching staff was built to begin with was disjointed. Because maybe he wanted to get rid of people. Maybe look what they did. He didn't want AJ Brown to get traded. Like, how do we know that Vrabel is the reason why that defense is that bad? Like, I don't know, because he didn't look happy when AJ Brown was traded away. So I don't know. I'm willing to give him a chance as long as, like, we'll be critical of him if he screws up too. Like, no matter who comes in, we're going to dish our opinion, and we're not going to just dial it back just because they have a history of success. I don't care about that, because as far as I'm concerned, once you walk through the door, your slate's clean. You're how it starts and and going into next season, by the way, I'm not expecting wins and losses even that season. I want to see character development within this roster, how players carry themselves, how they are in game when they're down, because you're going to get a blowout where we're going to get our asses handed to us. How do they react? How do they carry themselves in the media? Because this year, the players' coach mentality really didn't work. And it may have worked with some other coaches. It just didn't work here because there was no, like you said, not having the veterans in the building, being able to be like, hey, listen, Rook, don't say that. Bentley was hurt. They had a mid-season where he came in and he talked to the rookies, but he can't always be available because he was injured. We need guys. We need the veteran leadership in the building. So hopefully Vrabel goes and grabs players from the Titans that he may have coached, or he may have seen some people with the Browns, or I don't know. Like you said, the roster is way too young. I'm not expecting to make this roster ancient, but I would just grab key players. They don't need to be the top of the line players that can just be culture setters moving forward.
Yeah, you can be young, but you can also still have veterans in the building. I think that's what people forget, is that a lot of Patriots fans, they've been like, let's get this veteran out. Let's get that veteran out. It's like, well, have you not seen the issue last year?
We kind of hoped that Kendrick Bourne was going to be that guy, but he
never was that kind of guy.
I know. We were kind of hoping it, though. He's that type of leader that's like really happy-go-lucky guy, which is, guys, by the way, that is
mindset.
That is definitely something you still need. It's just that when you have players, like we wanted KJ Osborne to be the other guy. Like, I really loved when Demario Douglas scored his touchdown and the first guy that was there was KJ Osborne. My problem with it is that there were still players just acting out, talking out of turns. Like, why is Keishon Butte saying, why do I have to go to the sideline and tell them that I want the ball? Like, he's been in the league for 10 years and he has 10 All-Pros. Like, I just hope they develop the roster and he picks and chooses players. I don't care about star talent. I just want this roster and just the culture moving forward. It's not the Patriot way anymore. That left with Belichick and Brady. Develop some type of, like, when I look at Mike Vrabel, I know I'm going on a little bit of a rant. I see a lot of Dan Campbell, like in terms of like their personalities. Like Mike Vrabel's a little bit more abrasive with the media, but in terms of like how they're going to coach, that's how I perceive. I think they're kind of the same.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are talking about offensive coordinator and head coach a lot. To me, that's not really what the biggest question is. Now, obviously, I'm interested to see what they're going to do at head coach, but it feels pretty certain that it's going to be Mike Vrabel anyway. So I don't have a lot of questions. My biggest question is going to be, who is your defensive coordinator? Because I think how the Patriots are going to succeed early on is going to be through the defense, because you have Drake May, yes, but your offense is still lacking significantly. You have issues at running back with those guys fumbling. You have issues all over your offensive line. You do not have a wide receiver one. I really don't even know if you have a wide receiver two at this point. You have a low end wide receiver two at absolute best. So there's a lot of holes to this offense that it's not all going to be figured out in 2025. It's going to take a couple of years to where there is so much talent on that defense. There's a lot of veterans on that defense to where, yes, it sucked, but I think it more so sucked because of coaching and not because of the overall talent on defense. Who does Mike Vrabel go with the defensive side of things? Because that, I think, is going to depend on how successful the Patriots can be immediately in 2025.
Well, we've also found out that if you don't have the quarterback, doesn't matter how good of a coach you are, Bill Belichick. Doesn't matter how good of a coach you are, because once you lose that quarterback, you lose the Tom Brady. You lose your fastball. Maybe Bill Belichick's still a damn good coach. I still believe he's a damn good coach. But once you lose your quarterback and you don't, like, it can be a culture setter. We know that Drake May took so many lumps this season and took accountability when maybe sometimes he wasn't the reason that we lost. And I think that Mike Vrabel being able to do what he did with Ryan Tannehill and Marcus Mariota, let me just say that again, Ryan Tannehill and Marcus Mariota, who are not scaring anybody. You have Drake May. Yes, I know people are laughing at me saying that he could possibly be a top 5 quarterback. This is not my words.
I don't think that's a joke at all. I mean,
this is not my words. This is literally what's going on in the circles. He can be a top. The potential's there. Obviously, if he gets injured, knock on wood, it doesn't happen. He could fall off. Anything can happen, but the potential's there. The ceiling's there. And if you pair him with a coach like a Mike Vrabel, like what was Bill Belichick before Tom Brady? He was 41-55 as a head coach. He made the playoffs. He had one playoff win. What happens? He gets Drew Bledsoe, $100 million quarterback, right? Was a top 10 quarterback maybe at that time?
Well, Rob, look at Andy Reid too.
Exactly. You just need the right quarterback. And I'm sorry, what's between the ears with Drake May? Just how he carries himself. He's 22 years old. He's way ahead of his time in terms of just like how he carries himself. I think personally, this is a match made in heaven. And also that could be a match made in heaven with Ben Johnson. I think that would be a great coexistence too. But
yeah, I agree. But I also think that's why I think Robert Kraft, I think he has a little bit of PTSD, respectfully, because of what just happened with Gerard Mayo, which is why, like, I don't know how much of a real chance Ben Johnson has, just because I think Robert Kraft sees this, and everything you just said is exactly why he wants to go back to the veteran route. Guys who don't have to take a couple of years to develop, don't have to take time to figure things out. But Mike Vrabel, experience. He's a veteran. He comes in. He knows what he's doing. He gets an offensive coordinator, whether that's Alex Van Pelt, Josh McDaniels, veterans, know what they're doing. Just has to do the same thing for defensive coordinator. These guys might be older, but sometimes older isn't necessarily bad as long as they can still marry, what the NFL used to be to what the NFL is becoming from the collegiate level. So I think that's why they're looking more so now towards Mike Vrabel. But like we alluded to, they did still meet with Ben Johnson. Now, because of the rule, they had to meet with him virtually. They would have to wait until the Detroit Lions got eliminated from postseason contention to be able to meet with Ben Johnson in person. What are your thoughts, just in case the Mike Vrabel situation goes completely south and we hear that Ben Johnson ends up becoming the next head coach of the Patriots? What are your thoughts on him?
My thought is this: you're comparing Ben Johnson to Gerard Mayo. It's kind of an insult to Ben Johnson. And
well, just in certain ways.
And people were like, why would you say that, Rob? Why would you say it? They're both would be rookie head coaches. No, you're talking about a guy that was a linebackers coach. Yes, he was in the defensive meetings, but when you go and compare him to Ben Johnson hadn't just been with the Lions. He was with Boston College as a graduate assistant. He's a tight ends coach with Boston College. With the Miami Dolphins was an offensive assistant quarterbacks coach, tight ends coach, assistant wide receivers coach. With the Lions, he was a defensive quality control coach, tight ends coach, passing game coordinator, offensive coordinator. And this is all in the span of over a decade. They're not apples to apples. This is apples to oranges. Their resumes are not even remotely comparable. So bringing Ben Johnson, yes, at the surface level, they both would be first-year head coaches. But based off what Ben Johnson and the exposure he's had to all different variations of the offense and different, let's just call it as we see it. Gerard Mayo's only been here. Ben Johnson's been everywhere. So they're not the same. And that I'm sorry, that's a slap in the face to Ben Johnson because he's put in the time. I mean, he turned down last cycle to come back and be the offensive coordinator for the Lions again this year. So
yeah, the way that I see Ben Johnson and Mike Vrabel, they're not 1 and 2. They're 1A and 1B. I'd be happy with either of these guys. I wouldn't complain about either. There's pros, there's cons to both. You know, you look at the pros of somebody like Ben Johnson, and you know when I'm kind of comparing him to what Gerard Mayo ultimately did. Obviously, they're like comparing apples and oranges, right? They have similarities, but there's also a lot of differences. We're talking about one guy from the offensive side of the football to the defensive side of the football, a guy who didn't really have much coaching experience as a coach before becoming a head coach. And then you have somebody like Ben Johnson, who obviously has a lot more experience, but it's just more so that youth factor, the unknown. You had youth and unknown when you hired Gerard Mayo. You have youth and unknown with somebody like Ben Johnson. And if that's something that Robert Kraft is worried about and he wants to start succeeding immediately, I think the guy that does that better is Mike Vrabel. But if you want to take a shot and say, okay, I'm going to open up this prize box and this can either be a Bugatti or a car from the 1950s that doesn't even run anymore, but I'm going to use this prize box because it could be great, it could be bad. I think that's exactly what Ben Johnson is. You know, you look at Ben Johnson and the pros here, he's the highest regarded offensive mind, you know, since arguably Sean McVay, dare I say. He has a top 5 scoring offense in each year as an offensive coordinator. He's creative. I mean, his trick plays that he schemes up is next to none. As Patriots fans, we know that we love our trick plays. That was like a staple in the Tom Brady, Bill Belichick era. Really good at developing, you know, offensive players that come in through the draft. But then you have your question marks. Never been a head coach before. Can he lead the locker room? Can he be somebody that young players attach themselves to? Is he carried by the offensive talent that's been put around him in Detroit? He doesn't have as many connections. He's also never developed a young quarterback. And maybe that's not something we have to worry about with Ben Johnson. Maybe that's more so, you know, like the quarterback's coach and whatnot, the positional guys. But that's something Ben Johnson hasn't done. He kind of had Jared Goff, who was already a veteran, who had played in the playoffs, who had played in the Super Bowl before. He'd been in the league for multiple years. With Drake May, you're getting a guy who's going into his second year and still needs a lot of developing. I always say that year 2 is arguably the most important year for development of a young quarterback. So that's kind of where my questions lie with Ben Johnson, right? So ultimately, I don't think we have to say too much more about it. I think everybody kind of understands the pros and cons of Vrabel and Ben Johnson. And we also kind of understand that it's about a 9.5 out of 10 chance, about a 95% chance. Let's say that out of 100. It's a 95% chance that Mike Vrabel is the next head coach of the Patriots. But I do want to get into a couple of more of your thoughts about this coaching staff before we get into the awards, because the Patriots did meet with a couple of other guys for head coach. They also met with, let me see. So they met with Brian Leftwich, the former offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That was the offensive coordinator when Tom Brady was there. Yes or no? Is that a guy you'd be interested in for some reason?
So one of the reports I heard at the time while Tom Brady was with them is that he would audible at the line of scrimmage. routinely. No.
Just no. I mean, yeah, this
So
is
Tom
weird.
Brady probably hate. I mean, there was a point in time where I heard a report that he was basically audibling, like he was basically offensive coordinator himself. So that's no.
Yeah, I mean, a guy who hasn't been in the league since 2022. Is it also ironic that Tom Brady leaves and he gets fired? Like, probably not. This was the Rooney Rule. The Patriots also met with Pep Hamilton for their head coaching vacancy. This is a guy that, Rob, I wonder if there's more to these head coaching interviews than necessarily what meets the eye, right? It's kind of like offensive coordinator a couple of years ago. There were so many guys that were being interviewed. Some guys who we said, why are these guys being
I mean,
interviewed for offensive coordinator? But then they
Adrian
got
Clem.
signed to be positional coaching. Exactly. They got signed to be positional coaches. I wonder if that could potentially be the same thing here. Pep Hamilton, maybe he doesn't ultimately come in to be your head coach, but can he be your OC, your DC, a positional coach, an assistant to the head coach, something like that? Pep Hamilton is not a guy that I would want to be my next head coach. But I think there's 100% some type of role for him on a football team because of all the experience that he has. I mean, he's been coaching all the way back since 1997. He's coached at the collegiate level. He's coached at the NFL level. He's worked with multiple organizations. The last team he worked with was in 2022 with the Houston Texans as an offensive coordinator. But this guy's been a head coach, general manager, quarterbacks coach, pass game coordinator, wide receivers coach. You name it, Pep Hamilton has done it. So again, not a guy that I want to be my head coach, but maybe there's some type of other role because of just how much knowledge that this guy has.
And maybe Mike Vrabel might have said behind the scenes, hey, listen, why don't you give this guy an interview, find out what he's capable of. I don't know. Give him a lowdown. Maybe look, Adrian Clem was interviewed for offensive coordinator position, wanted to be an offensive line coach. So there's always reasoning behind these interviews. I just would like to know if Pep Hamilton. I would probably prefer Pep Hamilton because of all the. I didn't really hear anything good about Byron Leftwich, so I wouldn't mind Pep Hamilton because Pep Hamilton. I mean, the guy's been freaking everywhere. If you go look at his resume.
Oh yeah,
Byron Leftwich. Yeah. I mean, once Brady left, and even when Brady was there, he was audibling like crazy. So.
Yeah, and then the last one we have to get into, and this is an interesting one because when the Patriots interviewed both Byron Leftwich and then Pep Hamilton, they had already solidified the Rooney Rule. So they could have just hired Mike Vrabel then and there. They solidified it. They could have hired their next head coach. But then news came out a couple of days later that the Patriots put in a request to interview Detroit Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn. Then it came out about a day or two later that Aaron Glenn actually said no to the New England Patriots. Now, of course, people trying to say, oh, well, it doesn't matter. He knew that he was just a part of the Rooney Rule. That's why he said no. The Patriots already met the Rooney Rule. So them trying to interview Aaron Glenn was them actually having at least a level of interest, but he turned the Patriots down. Now, from what's been reported, there's about a 90% chance that Aaron Glenn becomes the next head coach of the New Orleans Saints, but he did also interview with the Patriots in division rival New York Jets, and supposedly that went very well too. What do you think of the whole Aaron Glenn situation? Would this have been a guy that you would have actually been interested in if he accepted an interview? Or are you kind of amongst the fan base where you're saying he probably said no to the team because he knew that Mike Vrabel was getting the job, so why waste his time?
Well, first of all, he was drafted by the New York Jets. So
probably hates us.
He probably hates us. 1994. I was going to look it up real quick. He was drafted by the Jets. I think it was a little bit late in the process because there was already like 4 teams that already asked for his services, the Jets being one of them, the Saints, and whoever else may be. I liked what he's been able to do. I think he had like 12 players on the defense on injured reserve, and he's done an incredible job. I would have he would have been my other coach, 100%. I don't know why we didn't try to at least make him one of the top priorities. I would have liked to at least consider him because that's what I'm saying, that we might have put our foot in our mouth in this situation where we went after a Pep Hamilton and Byron Leftwich to satisfy the Rooney Rule. Actually, I would have preferred maybe going Pep Hamilton and Aaron Glenn and then you satisfy the Rooney Rule, which obviously I don't think you can now because the coordinators in the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, I guess never mind. Put my foot in my mouth. I just kind of rethought it through. They wouldn't have been able to interview him anyways yet.
So Aaron Glenn, I'm pretty sure they would have been able to interview him just because they were on a bye week. So let's say that the Patriots wanted to interview somebody like Brian Flores, they would have had to wait because Brian Flores is in the playoffs currently. So they would have had to wait till after. The reason why the Patriots got to meet with Ben Johnson and they could have met with Aaron Glenn is because they got that first round bye. So they were on a bye week, which gave them the opportunity to meet via Zoom. But if the Patriots wanted another interview with either Ben Johnson or Aaron Glenn, they would have to wait until the Detroit Lions officially got eliminated from postseason contention.
New York Jets all-time 4-decade team. Yeah, he definitely doesn't like the Patriots. So I'm.
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to one of two things. Either Aaron Glenn really hates the Patriots and a middle finger up to them saying, I'm not interviewing with you guys, or he said, I know that you guys are going to hire MIke Vrabel or Ben Johnson. I know that I have an outside chance at making this. I have probably the third best odds, so I'm not going to waste my time while my team gets ready to try to go and win a Super Bowl. Definitely comes down to one of those two things. Nonetheless, though, the Patriots tried to interview Detroit Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn, but he decides to decline the New England Patriots request. But Rob, any final thoughts on kind of the direction of this head coaching search for the Patriots before we wrap it up?
Like I said, I really wish they would have broadened it. Like I mean, what was it? The Chargers had like 15 interviews last year, and they everybody knew it was going to be Jim Harbaugh, right? Everybody knew it, but they at least broadened their scope, and I just wish they would have done that. You get information, you build relationships, you get little things that you can pick from other people's games and how they coach. I just really wish they would have broadened it.
Yeah, I think the reason that ultimately they didn't is I think anybody that they most likely would have been interested in is probably in the postseason. And we know that Robert Kraft wants to get the ball rolling. He doesn't want to wait. And that's also why I wonder, too, if somebody like Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, I wonder if those guys would have had a better chance if the Detroit Lions were not about to go on a deep postseason run. Because if you want to hire one of those guys, you want to meet with them again, you have to wait till they're eliminated from postseason contention. And that could be another few weeks. Robert Kraft probably doesn't want to wait, and he wants this to happen immediately. I wonder if that's why he's not waiting to interview, like the Ravens offensive coordinator or whatnot.
It's a huge risk.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't need them to go interview 15 different guys, but like a little bit of a wider search I wouldn't have been upset with.
Yeah, I agree.
But guys, before we get into our end of the season awards, want to give a massive shout out to the sponsor of this video over at BetUS, because the postseason is here, baby. We got playoffs. We got Super Bowl right around the bend. The regular season is officially over, which thank God if you're a New England Patriots fan, am I right? But you can have a little bit of extra fun this postseason with BetUS. Right now, when you guys sign up, super quick, takes less than 60 seconds. You use the promo code you see on the screen, YouTube150. That is YouTube150. You will lock yourselves into a limited time exclusive offer of a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit, followed by 125 on your next two, all the way up to $2,000. If you're not really interested in betting on a team that isn't the New England Patriots, that's okay, because BetUS, they have the best betting variety in the business. So you can bet on the Red Sox, you can bet on the Celtics, you can bet on the Bruins, and not just that, but they got the best betting variety in the business. So entertainment, politics, all of that good stuff, horse racing, those are some of the other get-ins that you can have with BetUS. But play smart, play responsible, never bet more than you can afford to lose, but a massive, massive shout out to BetUS. Rob, though, I want to transition here, and I want to get into our end of season awards. Oh, let me put this back up. Our end of season awards finally put kind of just a cap on this 2024 season for the Patriots. And I want to start off here with your MVP. Who was your MVP for the New England Patriots from the 2024 season?
It's Christian Gonzalez. I don't think it's remotely even close. 70 targets, 31 catches allowed, 44% completion rate, 376 yards, 23.5 yards per game allowed. 2 interceptions, 7 pass breakups, 1 fumble recovery, 1 defensive touchdown, and 978 snaps. I don't think it's close.
Yeah. And by the way, guys, me and Rob didn't talk about who our candidates were. So I'm hearing this live. He's hearing mine live. And my exact MVP was also Christian Gonzalez. Now, I went back and forth, for a little bit. I was like, could I include Drake May on here? I don't think Drake May is there yet. The guy who stepped in and immediately was dominant for the Patriots from start to finish, really didn't have any hiccups, was Christian Gonzalez. Christian Gonzalez, who somehow didn't make it to the Pro Bowl, but was just voted as second team All-Pro in the NFL. Clearly one of the best currently in the NFL. And if you think about it, this was his rookie season, because he only played 4 games in 2023, came off a season-ending injury, and picked up exactly where he left off. Not to mention that the Patriots, they have one of the worst pass rushes in the entire NFL this past season. So the fact that the team wasn't getting the slightest bit of pass rush, whether they're rushing for, whether they're finding exotic ways to blitz with linebackers, setting the edge, shooting the gap, cornerback and safety blitzes, the Patriots still couldn't find ways to get pressure, and Christian Gonzalez was still shutting down the number one guy on any given week. To me, I think it is a scary thought to see how he continues to develop, because he can only get better.
Also really young.
What can he's young, but what can he also look like when the Patriots start to have pass rush, and that forces opposing quarterbacks to make a decision in a split second? Because Christian Gonzalez was still one of the most targeted corners in the NFL for whatever reason, and he was still only giving up, like you said, about 22 yards per game on average. So I don't think it's much of a debate.
Biggest Pro Bowl snub.
Biggest Pro Bowl snub. Absolutely insane, the disrespect that was given to Christian Gonzalez.
No pro, though.
He is my MVP for this season, no doubt. Now, next up, I want to get on to who is your breakout player for the New England Patriots this season?
It's Kayshon Boutte. It's either Kayshon Boutte or it's Antonio Gibson, because, I mean, they both exceeded my expectations we did not expect much from them. And with Kayshon Boutte, we got to find out at least he's a guy that can, I mean, you go and put him, who was he? He's gone against some of the best corners, and he's beaten some of the best corners. Yes, he's dropped quite a few footballs as well, but he, at least for the foreseeable future, might have locked a roster spot moving forward. So for me, I'm going to go Kayshon Boutte. Antonio Gibson will be my, I guess, second.
How about that? Dude, me and Rob, I swear, did not talk about this before, but I also had Kayshon Boutte locked in. Now, maybe it's not that hard to decide these awards, just because there really wasn't a lot of bright spots for the Patriots. Maybe when we get into like the negatives, we'll have different answers. But I also had Kayshon Boutte. I'm trying to figure out who really popped off the most from year 1 to year 2. I mean, you can make a case for
no, you can't. The guy played one game.
For oh my God, what's his name? Not Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper. You could try to make a case for Austin Hooper, but when I think of breakout player, I'm thinking of a guy that from year 1 to year 2 in this organization, what were they able to do? And Kayshon Boutte went from playing in a couple of games last year, didn't even eclipse 100 yards, to he progressed very well as the season went on. He had some hiccups. He had some of his own moments from a personality standpoint, his inconsistencies as a player. He still needs to get better. I don't think he's ever going to be a number 1. I really don't think he's going to be a number 2. If he does, I think he's a low-end number 2. I think he can be a very good number 3 for you. He was the most utilized Patriots receiver this season, had the most snap counts out of all Patriots receivers this season. Not just that, but I think starting week 4, week 6, he became the Patriots' number 1 wide receiver for this team, and he was still able to make the plays that he was able to do. Yeah, and when I say he was being utilized as the number 1 receiver, I mean he was going up against the number 1 cornerback for opposing defenses every single week. I mean, 43 receptions, 589 yards, 3 touchdowns. He averaged 13.7 yards per catch. He finishes, for the Patriots, he was either second or third in receiving yards. So for me, 100% Kayshon Boutte, breakout player of the year. But let's go ahead. Let's get into the next one. Who is your offensive player of the year? So it can't be Kayshon Boutte, because we just named him, but who's your offensive player of the year?
It's Drake May. It's Drake May. The guy literally was like, at one point, almost about to break Mike Vick's rushing record. He played like 6 or 7 less games than everybody else, and I guarantee you right now, if he started all 18 games, he might have broken a lot. I mean, I think he would have had more rushing yards than Jaden Daniels. because he had 400. I think he would have had more passing yards than any of these rookie quarterbacks. Probably would have had more interceptions than everybody too. But I thought Drake May, being that he's behind the worst offensive line in football, he doesn't have any good wide receivers, and no run game, rookie head coach, rookie offensive caller, or green offensive caller. I think what he did, he played well above reproach.
Yeah, I would say Drake May, but I want to switch it up a little bit. Obviously, that's the obvious one. So I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to go with like 1B. Drake May's 1A. I'm going to go with 1B. Hunter Henry, man. It pisses me off because I told you before the season started, Rob, I told you Hunter Henry's going to have a breakout year, best year that he's had in his career so far. He was right there. His best season came in 2017, where he put up, wait, hold on. Let me see. Actually,
no, this was his best year.
I read that wrong. Excuse me.
This was his best year.
This is his best season. This was his best. So I was right.
The only thing he didn't break was his receiving touchdowns.
That was the only thing that didn't break. You're right. I actually was looking at that, and my dyslexia got the best of me. It turned a 5 into a 6. And by the way, that's actually true. I do have dyslexia. I hate on anyone that has it. I actually do have it. But yeah, goes out, has his best season, has the most receptions he's ever put up, or the most targets rather he's ever put up. 97 targets, 66 receptions, most yards ever, 674 yards, breaks his previous career record. He also puts up 2 total receiving touchdowns. Guy broke out, especially early on in the season. And what can this look like with a better offensive coordinator potentially? What can this look like when the team has an identity, has a bit of a direction? Maybe they start to utilize the passing game a little bit more offensively. I still think that he can be opened up a little bit more. We know that Drake May loves to operate within the middle of the field between the numbers. Having a classic inline tight end like Hunter Henry, who operates perfectly well
catch radius.
Insane catch radius, can work really, really well through contact, gets open in the most needed moment. To me,
reliable.
If we are not talking about Drake May being the offensive player of the year, without a doubt for me, it was Hunter Henry. One hell of a player.
I cannot disagree with that. Good choice.
I mean, it was between him and Austin Hooper. Austin Hooper was another really, really good player. Honestly, you could say the tight end set, the 2 tight end set this season was really what broke out, or was the offensive position. But if we're talking about one specific player, definitely have to go there with Hunter Henry. Really, really, really great season from him, especially as a leader too, a year in which the Patriots needed people to kind of step up behind the scenes in that locker room. He was a guy that did so. He became the veteran. The fact that to start the season, he wasn't a captain is absolutely insane. When he got that captain role back after a couple of guys went down, he took it very seriously. And to me, he's a guy that very well deserves to be a captain starting this 2025 season. But who is your defensive player of the year? And it cannot be Christian Gonzalez.
Oh, it can't be.
Not Christian Gonzalez. That's too easy.
Damn it, bro. Like,
that's too easy.
Now I gotta really think.
I stopped Rob for a minute. Stopped Rob. I stunted him. I was like, it can't be that easy, Rob. Can't be that easy.
Come on, bro. I was about to you can't do that to me, because the whole defense has been a freaking if I had to pick a second one, probably like Alex Austin, because like when he came in, the guy just was strapping up everybody. Like, how many times did you see him get beat? If we're going off of like 3 games, it would have been Keon White, but like we're not doing that. So I mean, everybody's kind of had hiccups across the board on defense, except for Alex Austin.
For me, and some of you already guessed it in the chat, I'm gonna go Marte Mapu. I think it's absolutely insane. Maybe it's a hot take, but I think it's absolutely insane. No, it's not.
I think they played about the same amount of games, Marty Mapu and Alex Austin.
I think it's insane that they didn't give this guy more opportunities. The fact that they didn't really play him in the preseason, we didn't see anything from him in the offseason. Then it was, I believe, was it Jabril Peppers or Kyle Duggar that went down that thrusted Marte Mapu into the starting role, and immediately Mapu gets 100% of the defensive snaps. So this guy goes from not being utilized at all. He's not in the starting rotation. We hear nothing from him. We see nothing for him. They're not utilizing him. And as soon as one of their starters goes down, he's the guy that gets thrusted into a starting position and plays 100% of defensive snaps. Whenever Kyle Duggar or Jabril Peppers were injured, they needed another safety in the lineup. They went to Marte Mapu, and Marte Mapu played 100% of defensive snaps. If you have a guy that is playing 100% of defensive snaps every single time he's called up upon, and he's making plays, why is that guy not at least regularly, a little bit more consistently, a part to your defense? That's the biggest thing that to me does not make sense from this past year's campaign, is the fact that with Gerard Mayo, DeMarcus Covington, they believed that Marte Mapu, he was either going to play 100% of defensive snaps or bro was going to be inactivated. There was absolutely no in between, and I couldn't stand it. Marte Mapu, a guy that we saw in his rookie year in 2023 with Bill Belichick, make some really good plays. He picked off Patrick Mahomes in that Chiefs game when he started at linebacker. When they give this kid opportunities, he goes out there, he makes plays. I get it. He still needs to develop a lot. There's a lot of times he's just in the wrong place. He's out there flinging his arms around. He needs to get better in run defense. But finishes the season 23 solo tackles, 3 forced fumbles, 1 interception, 6 passes defended, and that was in just a few games. What can this guy do if they make him a vocal point of the defense? I think that he can be scary. And at this point, I'm getting to a point where I'm saying use this dude in a Jamal Adams type of role because he can be a playmaker.
I would start him over Kyle Duggar right now. I'm going to be.
How many times have we seen Marte Mapu be the guy that's deflecting a pass or putting other Patriots defenders in a place to make plays? How many of Marcus Jones' plays came because of Marte Mapu making a play on the ball first?
I mean, there was a game where he had an interception, a pass deflection, and I believe that pass deflection was the interception. And I think
in the end zone by Marcus Jones.
Was it a forced fumble that he also got too? I can't remember. But Del Pettis, someone mentioned him. Del Pettis had a pretty damn good year too.
For UDFA. He had some inconsistencies, but as a UDFA,
yeah, but I mean, the potential is there at least.
I mean, I love Kyle Duggar. I love some of the hits he's able to lay. I love the potential of Kyle Duggar
so much.
But I think at this point, you have to say, even the guys you have behind Kyle Duggar, whether that is Del Pettis, whether that is Marte Mapu, those guys have their own inconsistencies. But at this point, I feel pretty confident in that those guys have at least been more consistent than Kyle Duggar. Because Kyle Duggar also had that, what was it, week 2, had that play with Christian Gonzalez where DK Metcalf goes and ties the game for that, like, what was it, like 60-yard touchdown? And that was because Kyle Duggar bit on the play, and there was miscommunication between him and Christian Gonzalez. But next up here, Rob, I want to know, actually I lost my list. Want to know who your, I want to start with the downside here. I was going to say biggest surprise, but we'll do that one next. Who's your biggest letdown?
I mean, it's not really a letdown for me because I called this in the preseason. I told everybody and their mother, you don't pay this guy. Kyle Duggar. I told everybody. Colby, did I not?
You did.
Tell everyone, do not bring this guy back. He's not as good as everybody thinks he is. And if we bring in a defensive coordinator that knows what he's doing, I'll stand corrected. But I did not want to pay him. And I think we were kind of bidding against ourselves when we re-signed this guy. He's what, 28, 29 years old? Like look, when Marty Mapu was a better safety this year. So I look, it's definitely Kyle Duggar, and it's not. I don't even believe it's close. It might be close because Ramondre Stevenson might be up there with him, but that's also another guy I said we shouldn't have paid.
I was gonna say Kyle Duggar, but I want to mix it up a little bit. I feel like that's the obvious one. I could come out here and I could say Gerard Mayo, because this doesn't have to be just players. It can be coaches too. And I think that when you're looking at the entirety of the Patriots 2024 season, who was the thing that disappointed you the most? 100% was Gerard Mayo. You look after week 1, you had so much potential. And I was somebody who thought, this team maybe could win like 6 games. We weren't too far behind them. Rob, I didn't have big expectations for the Patriots in this season. But the way that it just totally collapsed as the season progressed, the way that he had no idea what he was doing, and it got more evident as the season gone on. He was throwing crap against the fan and the wall, hoping that at some point something was going to stick. You would think that these are mistakes you make early on in the season and you get better as time goes on. but he did the exact opposite. And I'm not exactly 100% sure how that works. The fact that you get a week 1 win on the road, your first time as a head coach, you're getting a Gatorade shower, Gatorade bucket all over you.
That might be the only time anybody's gotten a Gatorade shower on a regular season win.
And then after that, you just lose all momentum. Absolutely mind-boggling to me. I didn't say that I was sold on Gerard Mayo even when they hired him, but I thought that things would at least be better than what they were and that he wasn't going to get fired after year 1. From a player standpoint, there's a lot of players that you can talk about. But for me, I'm probably, oh my, this is tough, dude, because there's a lot of players that let down. I'm going to go Keon White, though. I'm going to go Keon White because Keon White started the season very, very well and then died out. He was consistently for the first couple of weeks leading the NFL in sacks. Well, not leading, but he was top 5 in sacks for multiple weeks. And then he died off. He died off. He couldn't do anything as the season progressed. Off the field, started to have issues, started to speak out, supposedly wanted to be traded, couldn't be somebody that you relied on, couldn't contain the edge to mobile quarterbacks, couldn't stop the run. Just as the season progressed, couldn't take over as that number 1 guy. And this was somebody who was a second-round pick. This was somebody who said that he wanted more opportunity, somebody that said that he could be a starting edge rusher for this team. And I'm at the point where I'm asking myself, do the Patriots need just 1 edge rusher or do they need 2? Because Keon White now for 2 years has been wildly inconsistent. He has good moments, but fades down the stretch, and that's not somebody that you can rely on. He's somebody that I would start playing more on the interior because at this point, I wonder if he's more of an interior rusher than he is an edge rusher.
I was just going to say that I would probably, I mean, he played his best ball between the tackles. I would rather him being closer to center and where the guards are than I would rather him be on the outside. He's not really he doesn't really doesn't give me the pass rusher type guy because when players were going at him, they would go around him. And I don't know, man. He definitely was a disappointment. I don't know if he was the biggest disappointment, but I agree kind of with your take, man.
I mean, there was a lot of them because even offensively, you can say, all right, well, the offensive line, but there were so many disappointments with that O-line. And you could say Stevenson because he was definitely a letdown, but Stevenson, outside of the fumbles, didn't have a bad year, especially given how bad the offensive line was, not giving blocking opportunities. Week 1, 119 of his 120 rushing yards came after contact. So I think if you take the fumbling problem away, like if you look at what he did statistically, it wasn't bad. He had a pretty good season. It was just the fumbling problem. And again, I think that also takes part because of the O-line. So when I'm thinking of this, I'm thinking about like one specific player and not necessarily a unit. And to me, it just comes down to Keon White. Like Keon White had every position, every opportunity to succeed. He was the number 1 guy. All you had to do was pin your ears back and get to the quarterback. And the guy still wasn't able to do it down the stretch. I mean, he finishes with a total of 5 sacks in 2024. And pretty much all of those came within the first 4 weeks.
I mean, hell, DeMarcus Covington, you could probably lump them in with the coaches because he did a hell of a job with the D-line last year. And everybody perceived him to be like, okay, we let Steve Belichick go to Washington with the Huskies. Oh, well, DeMarcus Covington and everybody, even myself, thought, okay, the guy did really well with the D-line. I think he's probably going to be able to do a good job with the defense. Nope, we were wrong. That might be another coach. You could be like, okay, if that was a coach, you're going to say that under kind of was a letdown was him.
I agree. So we just talked about our biggest disappointment, but who is your biggest surprise from the season?
Antonio Gibson. I mean, like, okay. I didn't expect him to be like, how many times did this guy rip off like 30-yard runs? This guy, you guys got to understand, this is a guy that played wide receiver. So he was traditionally a wide receiver that turned into running back. 1A, 1B would probably be Drake May because I did not expect this development out of him. I really didn't. I didn't expect him to show me that he has the potential to be great. And I'll go as far as coaching goes. I'm going to go AVP because I did not expect him. So first of all, in the beginning of the season, he really was not great. But then he developed. And I'm not saying that he was like amazing, but being what he had to work with and the lackluster talent on this roster, I think he exceeded the potential of this roster by $1 million.
Yeah, that's a good one. For me, I'm gonna go Austin Hooper. Austin Hooper was my biggest surprise. I really liked the potential of Austin Hooper. I didn't think he was going to come in and necessarily flame out, but I think he performed well past my expectations and really everybody's else expectations too. When is the last time that we saw this team's tight end 2 actually show up? I think the last time we saw it was maybe Martellus Bennett and Rob Gronkowski. I'm not saying they're on that level, but how many years have the Patriots tried to get like a quality 2 tight end set and haven't been able to do so? They tried Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. Jonnu Smith didn't do anything.
It was like Gronk, Dwayne Allen, and Tim Wright.
Even Dwayne Allen didn't do jack crap. That guy was a blocker.
Well, Tim Wright was like an offensive a red zone machine. Like at one point in time, I think this guy had the same amount of receptions as he had touchdowns. So that combo was pretty good too.
I would say the last time I saw a 2 tight end set that was this reliable was Rob Gronkowski and Martellus Bennett 2016 when, both of them were healthy enough to actually stay on the field at the same time.
I agree.
This was statistically the 3rd best season of Austin Hooper's career. That's actually the 4th rather. The 4th statistically best season we've seen under Austin Hooper. The best we've seen since the 2019 season. That was a career best for him. So Alex Van Pelt was able to have him come in here with Drake May and put up one of the best seasons we've seen in his career, and really a bounce back year too for Austin Hooper. He was targeted 59 times, 45 receptions, 476 yards, 10.6 yards on average, and 3 touchdowns. We're talking about Austin Hooper, or not Austin, but Hunter Henry earlier on, how clutch he was, how reliable. He was a leader. He was where he needed to be when Drake May needed him. When Drake May needed a guy to go to, where did he go? It was always Hunter Henry or Austin Hooper. And I feel like a lot of these times in pivotal moments, Austin Hooper was the guy that stepped up. How many times when, the play's breaking down, Drake May's panicking, somehow extends the play, launches the ball down the field, and somehow finds Austin Hooper. Hooper gets clocked by like 2 defenders and somehow still gets up and is good to go for next week. If this guy wants to play for the New England Patriots again next year, I'm giving him a contract.
I hope. The only play that I could remember where he kind of like messed up was when he went to use the ball as leverage and he wound up fumbling the ball. When he used the ball, I believe he used the ball on the floor to basically keep himself upright, and I believe he wound up fumbling it. But yeah, I can't disagree with you. Him and the combination, they just seemingly just worked. I hadn't seen a combo like that, like you said, since Gronk and Martellus. Gronk and don't want to say his name, but we know who it is. But that's and I think that like I wouldn't say write a blank check for Hooper, but we need to, because you're going to have to pitch it to him, because I think he doesn't want to be a part of a losing culture. And I don't think that this is going to be a losing culture if you bring in a MIke Vrabel. It's just, I don't think he wants to be, I think he wants to be a part of a playoff team. And he really, like some of the catches he made were, I'm going to be honest with you, some of the catches he made, I had to like really look to see that it wasn't Hunter Henry making that catch.
Yeah, very, very similar players. But again, they fit the style of offense the Patriots want to play. 2 classic inline tight ends. I didn't expect them to run this much 2 tight end sets. I thought they were going to run a lot more, 11 personnel with 3 wide receivers, and they just didn't do it. And I understand why. But shout out to Greg coming in with a $10 donation. That is my boy right there, supporting the channel, supports us so much. So shout out to him. But another thing too to remember, Rob, is even if Alex Van Pelt doesn't come back as the offensive coordinator, there's still a good chance that Austin Hooper could come back, because let's keep in mind, we're acting as if Vrabel's the head coach, and we're going to continue to do so unless we hear otherwise. But keep in mind, Austin Hooper played for MIke Vrabel's Tennessee Titans in 2022. So either way, there's already familiarity there. So a guy who very, very, very well could get brought back. Rob, to kind of wrap things up here, and maybe you have one, maybe you don't. I have one in my mind, but do you have like a comeback player of the year for the Patriots?
It's a cop-out, though. I don't want to do it.
I wonder if it's mine.
Comeback player of the year would probably be Christian Gonzalez. The guy who played 4 games last year. The guy who played 4 games last year and then comes in, plays a whole season. And I'm going to be honest with you, you probably can only say one player above him, and that's Pat Surtain. And to be honest, that you could probably say 1A, 1B with those two. But yeah, I think it'll be Gonzo, and I know that's a little bit of a cop out. But what's yours?
Brendan Schooler. Yeah. How about that? I thought I was going to get your eyebrows to raise on that one. Brendan Schooler for me. Now, Schooler wasn't bad last year, but he shot himself and the team in the foot so much because he had such problems in 2023 with penalties that it kind of made him take an overall step back because of just how bad it was hurting the team overall. This year, he comes in, he's not committing penalties. He's playing even better than he has in recent years. I didn't even think that was possible. He comes in, he's a Pro Bowler this year. He's first team All Pro. The best season that we have seen under Brendan Schooler, who, again, really kind of had a rough season last year mentally and just came in and got a big paycheck from the Patriots and proved that he really is the best in the NFL from a special team standpoint. So for me, comeback player of the year, Brendan Schooler. I knew you were going to like that one, Rob. I knew you were going to like that one.
We got our next Matt Slater.
Crazy, right?
Freaking stud, man.
If you're Mike Vrabel, do you keep Matthew Slater as on the coaching staff?
Yeah, I think you kind of have to. I think you could. I would also like to hope that we keep around TC McCartney, just because if you go and let AVP go, I want some level of continuity with Drake May.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, guys, let us know in the comment section who are your end of the season awards for the New England Patriots from the 2024 season. Who's your MVP? Offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year, comeback player of the year, biggest surprise of the year, biggest letdown of the year. We want to know from you guys in the comment section below. Which of us do you agree with? Which of us do you not agree with? But let's go ahead. Let's hear from our 2 Patreon members before we go ahead and we log off. Let's start with our boy, DTN. How we doing, boss?
Doing good, my friend Kobe. And I gotta say, I'm feeling a lot better.
Yeah, DTN. He was sick last time.
Yep. And then Wednesday, I got a little better. I didn't say much because I was kind of quiet, but I tried my best, combat against Richie. But now that I feel like a lot better, no more coughing, hopefully, because, I shouldn't be coughing Tuesday when I go to a Bruins game at some point. But you know what? I'm a lot better.
Let's go, DTN. So who are your end of the season awards for the Patriots? In fact, here, I'll list them off for you so you don't get overwhelmed here. Who is your MVP for the Patriots this year?
Welp, I have them all written down.
Oh, let's go. All right, he's ready. Let's go, DTN.
I'm going to write down one by one with your question, and I have my little stylus to write them down.
Let's go.
My MVP for the Patriots is none other than Christian Gonzalez.
All right. Respect.
Because I thought that Christian Gonzalez, he could also be considered as a comeback player of the year after his stellar performances against top tier wide receivers besides the wide receivers that he went up against last year. So it's like you see like a variety he went up against this year. That's a lot.
That's true. What's your next one?
So my offensive player of the year, everybody's gonna say Drake May, but I'm gonna go a different route, and I'm gonna write his name down.
Keeping me on the edge of my seat, DTN.
Keep you all in suspense because you all want to know who it is. In my opinion, it's between Hunter Henry or Austin Hooper.
Okay.
Because it's like Drake May has been throwing to these tight ends a lot in all these games. So like if you continue to like throw to these tight ends, or if either Josh McDaniels returns and continues with like this tight end duo, like you did with Gronkowski, Bennett, Dwayne Allen, all these past. Do not talk about Matt Lacoste and then Izzo. It's like we don't talk about that.
That's true.
For my defensive player of the year, I know your choice was Alex Austin. I can agree, but I didn't choose Alex Austin for this one because of his injury that he had against the Jets, and I didn't see much of him until like towards the end of the second half. So
to be fair, he gave me that an impromptu question, said don't choose Christian Gonzalez, so it's kind of hard. Since
I understand.
Rob on the edge of his seat
like,
on that one.
like I had the name written down in like stone for Christian Gonzalez, but he told me to give something, so it's kind of hard when our defense was shit.
Yeah, I hated the defense so much. Like everybody could have been defensive player of the year if our defense was good, but obviously with the schemes, it's impossible. So my defensive player of the year, hopefully you can see it.
Marte Mapu.
Because he made some impressive plays. Like he had some he got a great interception at one point. He was so close to getting that second interception against Josh Allen. It was so close.
He should have had a few. He should have had 2 that game.
Yeah, he should have had a lot.
That's
my
true.
biggest. I'm actually gonna go to biggest surprise.
Biggest surprise. Let's see.
Everybody is gonna not know this one, but I've thought about this for a long time, and surprise of the player of the year. It could be not only like how well he surprisingly did, but how surprisingly bad he could be. For me, unfortunately,
Jabril Peppers. Oh,
yeah, and I picked Jabril Peppers because we all thought that he was going to be considered like good. He's going to be like a team captain for like the safety room or the secondary, but he is my biggest surprise because he was supposed to be good, but because of the legal issues that he had, he didn't he's supposed to be a leader, but because of what he did off the field, it was a huge disappointment.
That's true. I almost included him. Even when he came back, he didn't look the same. He was good against the run, didn't look good in coverage. I think the Patriots are going to have a really interesting kind of question on their hands on what they do with him, especially if these allegations do end up like being true or there's more information on it. What does somebody like MIke Vrabel think about this? He's probably as good as gone.
Yeah. But we need to find out how well he does in next year's offseason as well as training camp. If he can continue that same level that he did last season, because I thought last season he did well, but can he go back to what he was in 2023? That's going to be the question in 2025.
Very true.
So my biggest letdown, you already know this. I'm actually going to write the number, so you're going to have to guess the player. So in my opinion, my letdown player of the year, this guy, he has just been really inconsistent. He has been a huge letdown. Like, I want to collectively pick like the whole entire crew, but in my opinion, this guy, we all know he's a huge letdown. He has been a letdown since last year.
Layden Robert. Oh, never mind.
Last year.
It's none other than
Vidarian Lowe. Rob, you called it.
Vidarian Lowe has
Rob, that was good. I'll give it to you.
Dude, he's been a huge letdown for like 2 consecutive years.
Is that all of them? Is that you just ran through it?
I think we have MVP last.
Oh, MVP?
Yeah, we got one more. Who's your MVP?
Wait, I thought I did Christian Gonzalez as MVP.
I thought that was player of the year.
Oh, so what do we have left?
You know what? Do you want it to be Christian Gonzalez again? Is that your MVP?
No, I said Christian Gonzalez was my MVP / comeback player of the year, potentially. My offensive player was technically Hunter Henry. Defensive player of the year was Marte Mapu. Biggest letdown was Vidarian Lowe. Biggest surprise was Jabril Peppers.
I actually want to rescind my MVP. This man showed up, 17 out of the 18 streams we had this year. DTN is the MVP of the year. That's my MVP. So
thank you so much, Rob.
Because I'm going to be honest with you guys. You can talk and say your comments all you want. He comes in here and does it on a weekly basis. Until you come out here and you give your opinions, and it's easier said than done to speak in front of a camera and talk to the masses, but he does it on a weekly basis. And I will say also, just your ability to deliver what you have to say now has improved every single week. And I'm really proud of you, man. You did a great job this year, getting better and better every week.
I want to say, Rob, I wish I had the guts to, give my opinions on the very first game against the Bengals. But you know that right after that, my debut on the AFC East roundtable, I thought that if I could do more of that, because you can hear out my thoughts and my own opinions throughout everything, not just with the Patriots, but also in the AFC East roundtable.
It's not even just that, man. It's not even just that. So people can come on here and they blank their camera, so you can't see their face.
Mm-hmm.
You're giving your opinion. There are people that are critical of you in the comments, but you're showing up week in, week out, and then you started showing your face. Like, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm may get a little sappy right now, but you may inspire somebody to do this just because you spoke up and you got out of your little bubble. So
yes,
I'm so beyond proud of you, man. Like, you are.
Shout out to our boy DTN for coming on.
My MVP happens to be Colby, because day after day after day, all of the videos that he has made on all the news, on all of the free agents, on all the draft picks, on anything that has come out so far coming from the Patriots writers, he is keeping up daily. He's keeping up with like these huge news, and I always stay tuned to that. He even is always consistent, even when we were down gone bad. And also another shout out him, because he's also the host of some other roundtable sports, and he always has stuff, and I'm always behind his back whenever any roundtable member, whether it's Dan, whether it's TD, or whether it's Richie, goes at him. Even Lowski comes at him. I always support him. I will always fight back for him.
Let's go. That's my boy DTN.
My inspiration for starting a brand new YouTube video, which will be coming up in a few moments, like in a few days.
And let the people know what it's called again.
It's Patriots Talk, man.
Patriots Talk.
This boy is the host of Patriots
Let's go, baby. Hey, man, DTN, make sure you leave a link into the chat below so everyone can go ahead and check it out. But that is our boy DTN.
Yo, Edward comes into every stream. This guy hates me. He's like, replace Rob with DTN. You know what? Maybe we should do that.
Shout out to Edward in the chat, man.
Nah, Edward, it's all love. It's all
Edward
love.
Loves to troll, man.
I'm not good enough, man. DTN's the GOAT, man.
Patriots Global's delusional fake news. Tell me where the fake news is at. Tell me one thing I've said that's fake. That's crazy. They hate us because they ain't us. Let's go. Hey, we got Nathan in the chat. What's up, boss?
What's up, everybody? Let's go.
All right, man. I can't wait to hear your list and where you're at. Start me off here. Well, who is your MVP?
Man, I gotta go the opposite route. You said that we don't have to go all players. I'm going to go with somebody who's on the coaching staff for this one. Scott Peters, bro.
Okay.
I don't know how we were bad to offense this year. We were. I'm going to get some flack for this one because, like, what are you doing? But can you tell me who else would have made this offense look better than what it was? I mean, I'm going to be honest. Those martial arts were kicking in a little bit. Yes, like I can just imagine, like, he showed himself this year, and I think that he locked himself in. If he, Mike Vrabel does become the Nets head coach, you better put this guy in for the offensive line coach for the year. But man, what a letdown with the players that he did have, because he could be something special, I think, honestly. So.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. I think a lot of people have asked themselves which of this coaching staff is going to stay, who's going to go, which of the players are going to stay, and which are going to go, when ultimately Mike Vrabel or whoever the head coach who ends up ultimately coming in. And I think Scott Peters is a guy that definitely does deserve to stay, because this O-line, man, it's been bad, and it's progressively gotten worse and worse every single year, and it really comes down to a lack of talent. I don't agree with a lot of things that happen, but dating back to the offseason and saying, all right, well, we're going to put Caden Wallace at left tackle, then right tackle, then left tackle, and right tackle. Chukwueze Okorafor doing the same thing, which is ultimately why he retired. Was that on Scott Peters? Was that on Gerard Mayo? Who exactly was that on? Was that on Alex Van Pelt? Whoever decided to do that, that guy deserves to get fired. But as long as Scott Peters, Scott Van Pelt is a broadcaster for those who don't know. I'm getting it mixed up with my sportscasting class. But Scott Peters, as long as he didn't make that decision, I think that he's definitely somebody that deserves to be back. If he could make DeMontre Jacobs and Vidarian Lowe at least okay starting level tackles in the NFL, at least they were able to get through a season with those guys. What can he do when he has guys to develop with actual talent? Will Campbell, Kelvin Banks, some of these guys that are miles better in terms of talent than what we're seeing from both of the current Patriots tackles. So I definitely see where you're coming from on that one. Who was your offensive player of the year?
I'm going to go Hunter Henry. This guy was such a reliable target for Drake May ever since he did come in. And let's be honest, he was that way for, Jacoby Brissett as well. I mean, it didn't matter who the quarterback was. It didn't. Whether it was Drake May, Jacoby Brissett, or it was, Joe Milton, he was the guy that they wanted to go to. And man, I agree with you guys. This guy was so disrespected in the beginning of the year. How do you not make him a team captain? It is so disrespectful to give a guy that is, always there for his young quarterback who's coming and saying all this stuff, man. It's amazing.
To be fair, after all our captains were going down, I'm kind of happy he didn't get the C on his chest because everybody was getting injured.
Yeah, it's so.
Captain's
man, I'm kind of sad that he didn't break his TD record because he was on pace for a really, really good breakout season. At what age? 29 that he is? So we got
Hunter Henry?
Yeah.
I think so. I know Austin Hooper's 30, so I think Hunter Henry is 28, 29?
Somewhere up there. And still
somewhere around there.
Age. Like,
yeah.
He's in it for a long season.
What about your defensive player of the year?
Oh, man. I honestly, for the guy that had to fill in for Christian Barmore's shoes, I think he did somewhat well. Not great, but for what he was asked to do, I'm going to go with what's his name, Devon Godchaux. Yes, he was big, let down in training camp with how he was handling things, but I'm kind of glad that he was sticking up for everybody. I mean, I watched some of his post game talks. I was brutally shocked. I mean, honestly, he looked like he was carrying a lot of the load in there.
You're taking a different approach to this, and I like that you are taking. No, I really am serious. I like that the different approach you're taking. You're not just taking it from just an X's and O's standpoint. You're taking it from how he carries himself as a leader and how he handles the media. I'm actually impressed how you came up with this list. I love it.
And honestly, I'm making it up on the spot because I was working on the laundry room with my dad and building some things in there. So you caught me on the spot, PG, with the notification. I was like, whoa, I'm late.
Yo, real quick, one of these mods get this 70-year-old out. I don't know what is happening right now, but there's some 70-year-old dude in the chat causing problems and flaming everybody right now. Somebody get their grandpa out of here, please. It's making it a rough environment right now. But okay, continue, Nathan.
Mayonnaise. We got rid of him. We got rid of the mayonnaise. He's no longer the head coach anymore.
Rookie, what's the next one? I want to know your biggest surprise, though. Who is your biggest surprise of the year?
We can go so many directions, but man, Ramondre Stevenson with his fumbling issues. Oh my God, dude. How does this guy not get benched and get disciplined? I mean, that goes to farther direction, but it's one thing to go ahead and be a bell cow running back and have a really secure, non-fumbling issue. How are you not learning from all your mistakes, brother? You get signed to a contract that's worth $9 million a year, and all you're asked to do is hold the ball right here and score for us. I'm not asking you to score 18 touchdowns in a season. I'm just saying pick up the first down and get yourself into it.
I don't know how many times I've pointed out where the guy just doesn't know how to fall, and he leaves the ball in a susceptible position. And I don't know how many times I had to tell everybody that we shouldn't have signed him in the first place.
Yeah, and so
don't pay running backs.
Great running back class this year too.
Yeah, hot take. He may not even be running back 3 next year because Antonio. I mean, look at this class, bro.
Yeah.
There's a running back from UNC I really, really like. His name's batting me right now, but he'll probably be a first rounder anyway. He's like right after Ashton Genty.
Ned Singleton is also one that I would put my eye out for
Amari Hampton. Yeah, that's who it is. Huge Amario Hampton fan, man. He's going to go to like the Ravens or something and ball the hell out. Amari and Hampton, if you guys haven't checked him out yet, coming out of UNC, the running back, bro. Oh my, in love with this dude. I think any year that Ashton Genty is in the draft, Hampton's like the number 1 running back.
I got one for you. Kyle Monungai, I think he's out of Rutgers. The guy is
yeah.
The guy's a bowling ball.
Dude, he's like he's a diamond in the rough. Like that is the guy that I think is going to climb charts. I've been hearing about
Marshawn Lynch. The guy just doesn't go down.
Yeah, Scadabo's another
6th round pick, projected 6th round pick, by the way.
Scadabo's another one. Cam Scadabo's actually going to the Senior Bowl. So I'll see.
Bro, the list is so damn long. There's a kid I think is Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee. Like, bro, there are so many damn running backs. Ramondre Stevenson, your days are numbered.
Look at the 2 running backs coming out of Ohio State. They're good running backs too. They're different paced running backs too. Very different style running backs. So you definitely check out those if you haven't yet, Rob. But Nathan, who was your biggest letdown of the year? Did we do that one yet?
Letdown? I think it was a surprise that we did last.
I think he said.
I think we surprised last. That was the biggest surprise. What's your biggest letdown?
Honestly, I'm going to have to throw some smoke at the veteran Jonathan Jones. Man, he was supposed to be a really, really important piece for this team. The guy just doesn't have it anymore, man. It was about like week 15 where I said this guy needs to retire, and he just let up so many touchdowns. It wasn't just a Chargers game; it was the games against before the Buffalo game he had, and then it was like I think that Titans game. Like he was just having so many issues. I think his height's being exposed, but when I just watch this guy on TV, he just can't keep up with guys anymore. And honestly, I don't know. I would have to say I don't think he can even play safety anymore. I don't know. The way that he has been able to just stay healthy and anything like that, it lets me down. He's such a great player. He's such a good guy in the locker room, but that's all he can really do at this point.
Patriots so I say, legend, man, he could go into coaching. I think he would be perfect for coaching.
He's been clipped. He's been clipped for the last couple of years when it comes with injuries. I think those injuries are finally making him a tick behind physically. And I think mentally he still has all the tools. Everybody's trying to say, well, maybe he should play free safety. At this point, I wouldn't even trust him to do that. I would try to find your future at free safety, not a guy who's going to be here for 1-2 more years max. Everybody got, a little bit controversial after he played against, who was it? Khalil Shakir against the Bills, locked him down. The one completion he allowed was a forced fumble by Jonathan Jones. And then the following week, he allows 2, what should have been 3 touchdowns to Ladd McConkey. So that's a guy that I absolutely love, a definition of a Patriot. But please, for the love of God, just retire. Retire a Patriot. He's the last remnant other than David Andrews to the Super Bowl era New England Patriots. But it's time to move on.
And that's the biggest thing, man, is if you keep him around, you might be taking snaps from someone else. And that's another thing that people are going to have to kind of bite the bullet on.
Yes.
We're going to find out if David Andrews still got it.
He said he wants to play to what, 2026? Did you see why he said he wants to come back?
Yes, because of Drake May. I posted about it. He wants to come back because he sees star potential in Drake May. But he didn't look great to begin the year either. So we're going to find out. I give David Andrews the benefit of the doubt, though.
For sure. Okay, so Nathan, last one. Maybe you have one, maybe you don't. But do you have a comeback player of the year?
I'm going to go with Demario Douglas. I think that this guy can be at least number 3 wide receiver at the bare minimum. I think he is vitally important to Drake May's success because look what he did in college. He had, what was his name? Josh Downs. And honestly, the two are so similar. Colby, you kind of, touched on it, midway through the year when he did, take over. And I just think that if you get a really good, offensive mind that knows how to develop players, this guy could be, going across the middle and maybe doing some things that honestly could shock us. I mean, look what he's shown throughout the last 2 years. I mean, he's wildly inconsistent with what he has been doing. So, like, one week he's a touchdown machine, another week he's just, being 30 yards. But if he works on that consistency, what a gem it could be in the 6th round that we find. And honestly, good job, Colby. Like, you called it, bro. Like, for somebody who's, fighting against all these people, I mean, like, come on. Like, you called it before anybody did over Tayshaun Boutte, which had himself a good year, but I think
Mario Douglas, man, he stayed healthy. That's the most important thing. Like 3 concussions last year. Durability was a question. Comes in here and maybe doesn't have the season we all thought he could in terms of potential, but he stayed healthy and he still had a pretty good year. So you definitely can't be upset with what you had. But Nathan, you absolutely killed your list, man. I love it. Man. We have another stream coming up in about a week. Me and Rob have to figure out when exactly our next stream is going to be, but we cannot wait to see the Patreon members back. You guys absolutely killed it. Want to give a shout out to DTN. Go ahead, Nathan. One more thing. Go ahead.
You guys are the real MVP. Let me tell you. You guys killed it this entire year. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. These people that you have in your chat, they're great. But man, you guys were just awesome.
You're appreciated. You're appreciated. The MVPs are the people that are in the chat because there's I mean, come on, the Patriots fans in general, having to show up and listen to me and Colby yap about how bad this team is for 18 weeks. That's like, I mean, for 2 years, basically like almost the equivalent of watching paint peel, because the fact is, like, it's just so mind-numbing that, like, okay, what did we do to fuck up this week? But we appreciate everybody that ever tunes into the stream. What we do is doesn't have any traction without y'all.
Anything.
Yeah. 100%, man. Nathan, we appreciate you for coming out, brother, and we cannot wait to see you again next week. Probably by then have a head coach of the New England Patriots. So kind of start talking about identity, more of a direction on where the team actually goes. Might even have a head coach by the end of tomorrow. So that's something to definitely watch. At least I'm waiting. I think we're going to have a head coach by the end of tomorrow. I have everything ready. I got my thumbnails ready, my description ready. I'm ready to just record that thing and go to town, baby. But hey, man, like Nathan said, like DTN, like Rob, we appreciate you guys so much. It is officially the off season, which means officially a successful 2024 season in terms of content, not in terms of the actual football team, but in terms of content, a successful year for me and Rob, our 2nd year at doing so. Honestly, Rob, I'm thinking about this. The Patriots got bad right around the time that me and you started doing this. So maybe it's time that you and I retire because we started this in 2023.
No, we need a name. We need a name. We need to start the damn slate clean and come up with a damn name. Yo, do a poll or something. Get some people to kind of give input on the name. Yeah, my blood pressure definitely broke.
But yeah, no, we will figure out a name for the show at some point. So if you guys have any good names for the show, let us know in the comment section below. But as always, we appreciate you guys so much for riding with us all year long. Man, we got so much good content coming for you guys. This is the first time where me and Rob are going to be doing this during the off season. Just like you guys have come to love this show every single week from the regular season, now it's the off season. And honestly, Rob, I think this is where the fun happens because there's only so much to talk about when the team sucks and the same result every single week. But now when there's free agents, signings, trade rumors, me and you are going to have different opinions on things. And it's going to be really fun to see how, one side of the spectrum feels versus the other side. So we are going to have a lot of fun this year. Make sure you guys, of course, subscribe to the channel so that you get notified when we do those. Yeah, maybe we'll have a debate show too. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of shows where Rob and I are debating. Before we log off, though, I do want to give another massive shout out to the sponsor of the video over at BetUS. When you guys sign up and use the promo code YouTube150, you will lock yourselves into a limited time exclusive offer of a 150% sign up bonus on your first deposit, followed by 125 on your next 2, all the way up to $2,000. And you can even get a deal right now on their online casino too. So shout out to BetUS, also giving you 10% back on your net losses 2 times a year. Perfect time to go ahead and get on in for the NFL postseason with the playoffs officially here and the Super Bowl kicking off in just a couple of short weeks. Again, we appreciate you guys for riding with us. Rob, any last words?
Go Pats.
The Do Your Job podcast.
Yeah, that's already taken
Belichick's
by,
back, baby.
That's already taken by, I think, Jerry Thornton or someone else. I don't know.
See, that's our problem. We started too late. There's way too many Patriots podcasts coming up with all the damn good names.
Better
I swear,
content
every
than
time,
OnlyFans.
every
But better
time that we
content
start
than
with names, somebody takes it.
OnlyFans. Better content than OnlyFans, Brooke. What is wrong with you? Twitch chicks and bikinis next. Oh, okay, guys. On that note, we love you.
On that note, we're going to log off for today. I'll see you guys maybe tomorrow if we get our head coach, but some really good content continuing to come out. You guys can expect a video coming out over the next couple of days where I break down the Patriots 2025 opponents. Those are official. We don't have the schedule, but we at least know the opponents, and I'll break those down for you guys in a couple of short days. Another big shout out to BetUS. Like the video on your way out. It helps support us tremendously. Subscribe if you haven't already. And of course, follow Rob on Instagram. Rob, I realize I do this every single time. I forget afterwards, but make sure you guys follow Rob on Instagram. The handle is right there. That is where the best damn Boston sports content comes out, including Patriots content. Rob has you covered for rumors, interviews, all of that great stuff involving the New England Patriots. That is where you're going to hear it first. So make sure you go ahead and follow him on Instagram. But guys, until we see you next time, stay safe and go Pats.